this is Rachelle with Originally Worn, and I'm sure we've all lived in homes that have had some fugly light fixtures. Whether you don't have the skills to replace it yourself or the money for a new one, today I'm going to show you how to update your home's light fixtures with just some Annie Sloan chalk paint. So today we're going to transform this pretty standard ugly brass light fixture into something sort of French country. But truly any of your fixtures with just the color of paint you choose and the style can be changed. If maybe you want to go for a farmhouse look, do an all graphite chandelier or light fixture, or maybe you want to go for something mid-century modern or funky and paint it Antiques green. Today we're going to do a coat of French linen, and then I'm going to dry brush old white on and clear and dark wax it. So let's get started. Okay, so I always pour my paint into a separate container. You use so little paint that you don't want to dry out your quart. And then I'm using a big round bristle Annie Sloan brush. This is the medium size. This will really allow me to kind of get in all these areas. I'd like to mention also, if you're working on this on your own, ours is of course unplugged and not attached here, that turn the power off to yours and tape off any ports or things that need to be done, and tape off around the ceiling. So you can see, you just kind of go along here and you're just trying to dab it in. You didn't need to sand or prep or prime anything. All I did to get this guy ready to go was wiped him down with a little warm soap and water. So you can see kind of how, I know it's kind of crazy everywhere, but these big brushes get into all these little areas without really leaving any goobs of paint. And that's what I want. I don't want it to look, you know, have it drip or anything like that anywhere, and that would happen if you used a flat brush. So you'll just go along and paint all of your parts. One coat here of French linen. Okay, so we've now done 2 coats of French linen on this. You know, some parts were a little harder to get into on this particular chandelier. I just took a smaller paintbrush in there and got those. You can certainly do that. You know, depending on what your chandelier looks like is what you're going to need to do. Also, I'm going for that kind of French country cottagey look, so I don't care that a little bit of the gold is going to shine through. That doesn't bother me. So next we are going to dry brush with old white. To dry brush, you just need a teeny a little amount of paint, and you're going to need an Annie Sloan flat brush is what I'm using. I have a good flat brush here. It's a stiff bristles and a paper towel. So you want to get a little bit of paint loaded on your brush. Now a lot of people, when they dry brush, I think you just need your tips with paint on it, but you actually want it loaded a bit so you get this what's called residual paint in there. So once you have a tiny bit of paint, then you kind of swirl your paint off in excess here to where your brush tips look like they're actually dry again. And then you will take and just start slowly going in the areas that you want to kind of have some distressing on. On a normal piece of furniture, where I'm dry brushing and distressing is where it would naturally be worn. And this is the same true here, but at the same time, you know, this particular chandelier is kind of a whole just curved thing. So I'm just going to kind of dry brush everywhere. And pretty heavily, actually. I want it to be able to be a visible dry brush from, you know, when it's hanging, you want to be able to see your work that you put into it. Well, I will go along and kind of, you know, spin this and work little areas in with my little bits of paint. And kind of almost you'll end up with some white and some tan and some, or not tan, I guess, French linen and old white, all kind of peeking through. Oh, here. This kind of, you see how much paint I'm really getting off with this one dab in my brush? This all right here is the residual paint. You don't want it to look like brush strokes, or you're trying to avoid that usually. So this is that leftover residual paint up in there. It's giving me kind of this shade or some highlighting of this old white. So now we've painted the whole thing. It started with 2 coats of French linen and then a dry brush of old white. Now I'm not actually going to wax this. You certainly could, it's not going to hurt anything, but I kind of like the texture that the Annie Sloan chalk paint gives in this aspect without the wax on it. Since it is kind of like a hanging decor piece that's not going to be touched a lot, you don't have to have wax on it. Same goes for like picture frames, mirror edges, that kind of thing. Furniture, I always wax. So it was a little hard considering you have to get into all these spots here, but otherwise it's a pretty much a beginner project. And just beware, you know, of all your angles that you can see it from. So I went underneath when I painted, I went, you know, I spun it, those kind of things to really make sure you try to cover it as much as possible. The other thing to note is that your first coat, if it's a metal chandelier or light fixture, your first coat is going to go on pretty spotty, but don't worry, your second coat will come and fill that in really good. Otherwise, if you have any questions, let us know. And if you liked this video and thought it was helpful, share it with your friends. Otherwise, subscribe to our channel and like us. Have a good day.